Now I'm going to have a look at the host profile tab. This is arguably the most important tab on the system, bar perhaps the tariff system, because it basically is the one that controls the finances and access. So first things first, when you have your charger set up with us and people are using the tariffs you've set up and they're paying us and we want to get that money to you, we will send that money to the bank and payment details that have been entered here by yourselves. If you enter nothing here, there's no issues. The money will stay with us until the first payment run where we have your details. So if you don't put those details in for a year, you'll just get everything you're owed after a year. But basically, we do suggest people put them in as soon as possible because there's no reason not to. As such, though, it's also quite important to control sort of who has access to this area, because we will just send the money automatically to the information that we have entered here. So you only really want your organization's details there and people who won't do anything untoward with that access and perhaps enter a different bank details here. That actually can be configured in this screen as well. This is the Manage Back Office Access tab. You can see this is actually not me. You will be invisible to yourself when you're viewing this page, but this is a colleague of mine who is support number 1. If you click Edit, you can view their sort of profile, where basically you can configure what they can view. So, for example, let's say you have example site and test site, and support 1, he works at example site. So he doesn't need to see test site's information. We untick that, and he just won't be able to see it on charge points or in the dashboard. It just won't be viewable to him. It'll be like it's not there. This could be quite handy for larger organizations if they want to compartmentalize things a bit. It can also overcomplicate things if you want to make sure everyone has access to only the one site. So if there's no sort of security issues, there's no real reason to segregate it too much. But if you have only 2 sites and a sort of handful of staff at each site, it can be quite useful to just segregate the system that way, only give them access to what they need to see, and it sort of makes it less complicated. Additionally, for security reasons, it can be quite useful to configure the actual individual tabs that someone can view. So for example, if you're an organization that has an accounts department, you might have them be able to view monthly statements and host profile and nothing else. Because host profile, they can make sure that the bank details are entered. My statements, they can see what money should be coming in and out, and that's it. Because they don't need to control the tariffs, they don't need to view the sites, they don't need to check the charge point status because they're not maintenance. In that instance, they only need to view these things. And also perhaps not my account tab. So you can disable these things for someone so that they don't see them. It can be quite handy to basically sort of minimize people's access if they don't need something. Or, for example, if you had a maintenance person who you didn't want to be able to view the finances, you could enable them to only see charge points and perhaps drivers and tariffs. That way you could just sort of segregate who has access to what, and it should be nice and simple. Also here, you can sort of just change it to view, which sort of reduces things quite a bit, but it just allows them to see some charge points. Also, restricted is, I believe, the sort of configured setting where you can mix and match. Additionally, you can also use this function to change someone's password for them. In theory, basically, so if I wanted to change support number 1's password, I could enter sort of, password 1 here. Obviously, you wouldn't do that because it'd be terribly insecure. But I could enter example password here and then save, and that should become that user's new password. So you can also use it to configure that, which can be quite helpful.